Aggressive Seth Trimble is the best Seth Trimble. I need to see it every time he touches the floor.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch on this hump day to get things going the right way. Special shout out to our everydayers, our members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our insiders as well. Hey, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Coming up on the show today, some really neat stories coming out about Seth's teammates and coaches holding him accountable at halftime at Syracuse Saturday and how that kind of has flipped things. I can't wait to talk to you more about it and what it needs to mean for the rest of the season. There's been some speculation about when Caleb Wilson will be back. Some people saying things definitively, others less so. That's interesting. I also want to look at Carolina's path to a double bye in the ACC, where things stand in NCAA tournament, seeding, etc. We'll look at all of that. Speaking of which, Carolina has risen up to 25th in the net following their win over Louisville, 6-6 now in quad one. No losses anywhere else, although, of course, as always, there's a couple that hang in the balance. Okay, let's dive right into this thing, man. I love this story. I think it's so cool. One of the things that's true is North Carolina. There are a lot of things that are true. One of them is that North Carolina only has a guaranteed 5 games left. 3 regular season, 1 ACC tournament, 1 NCAA tournament. Now, it could be many more than that if they win a whole bunch of games in the NCAA tournament and 3 or 4 in the ACC tournament. But at minimum, the Tar Heels have 5 games remaining. That means that there is a world in which we only get to see Seth Trimble put on a North Carolina uniform 5 more times. That is heartbreaking. Like, I love it when we get to March in the postseason, but it crushes me, particularly with somebody like Seth Trimble, whom we have absolutely fallen in love with as a young man, as a basketball player, as an ice cream parlor owner, all of that. And so I can't wait for March Madness, but man, the end is sudden and it is mean. And so as we think about these final games of Seth Trimble's career in North Carolina, one of the things that's true also is that Seth had gone through a little bit of what I'll just call a lull, where he was not being the best version of himself, where he was not leaning into his best attributes of utilizing his athleticism to relentlessly attack the rim. And that's how you win basketball games, is get to the rim and score. Seth is phenomenal at that, but had been resting on it. And at halftime of the Syracuse game, some of his coaches, some of his teammates pointed it out, held him accountable, and basically called it out like, Seth, you're not fully being Seth. Some great articles written about it over the past day or two. I saw one from Noah Weisskopf from Tar Heel 247 was the first one I saw that I really liked. And then our guy, R.L. Bynum, who always does such a great job, wrote about this as well. So you can go check both of those out. But just talking about what these, I won't call them confrontations, but just conversations, I guess is a better word. And how Seth said basically like, all right, got to flip the script. Let me give you a statistical breakdown on what I'll call pre-talk numbers in February and post-talk numbers in February. So looking at every basketball game the Tar Heels have played in the month of February, there are so far, 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. So 6.5 games before the talk at halftime of the Syracuse game and 1.5 games after the talk. In those 11 halves of basketball pre-talk, Seth Trimble scored 52 points, and was 13 of 42 from the field. That's 31%. And he averaged 4.7 points, not per game, per half. I'm looking at these by halves since it was at halftime of the Syracuse game when his teammates talked to him. So pre-talk, 11 halves of basketball, 4.7 points per half, 52 points total, shooting 31%. In the 3 halves since the talk, so the second half at Syracuse, and then each half of the Louisville game on Monday night. In those 3 halves of basketball, Seth Trimble has scored 43 points, so just 9 fewer than those 11 halves. 16 of 22 from the field. That's 72.7%, and is averaging 14.3 points per half. Per half, you guys. That's crazy stuff. And what I love about it, like specific to the Louisville game, man, Seth was in attack mode. He drew 8 fouls on the Cardinals. He was on a mission defensively. He was vocal. He was getting after it. That is the version of Seth Trimble that I need to see from now until the second that Carolina season is no longer allowed to continue on. Because the athleticism is always there, but the purposeful athleticism, the intentional athleticism, the getting there and finishing these shots is what Seth is going to have to do to help carry Carolina to the heights that they want to get to with or without Caleb Wilson. And to me, seeing Memphis Seth this past game and a half tells me that, man, there is another level to his game that he can get to. And I don't know if the human body can capably do it for each of these final 3 regular season games and throughout the ACC and NCAA tournaments. But if so, Carolina needs you, Seth, to do these things. And the key in all of it was, like, we know this. We've heard Seth talk about it. I feel like I remember him talking about it on an episode of the Carolina Insider podcast, where there have been times in his career where he doesn't ferociously attack the rim, where he doesn't have a plan before he takes off, where he will look to pass first rather than to shoot first or to score first. Sometimes unsure of himself. And that's the thing for me. The key to this is that Seth needs to be decisive. My goal is to get to the rim and score, and either get fouled and finish, get fouled and shoot 2, or if a bunch of traffic comes my way, boy, I got shooters that I can kick out to, or if a big comes off, I can just dump off to Henri or Jaydon or Caleb, whomever it is, for them to get to. Coach Davis said, one of the things I've told him, Seth, is when you come off a ball screen, you need to be 100% thinking score, and then let the defense dictate whether you make a pass or you go to the basket. Seth's ability to get downhill, he was able to score, draw fouls, just a huge difference maker for us, end quote. That was after the Louisville game. And I love that from Coach Davis. Seth, you come off a curl at the top of the key, you come off a cross, whatever it is, you come around the corner and I like freight train to the rim. And I want you to score. Because he can't, go back and watch the Louisville game. He was getting to the rim at will on those Louisville defenders. But if and when somebody does step up with some help side or, whatever it is, that then is an opportunity for Seth's instincts to come in, where it's not, it's kind of similar. Like in our judicial system, it's innocent until proven guilty. It's like the opposite. You got to go guilty until you're proven innocent. By that, I mean, Seth needs to be in score mode first, foremost, and always. And then if it should so happen that somebody should step up to cut him off or provide additional assistance, then that triggers his playmaking, which is really, really good. And so this is the Seth I need to see from now until the moment he has to take that jersey off for the last time, which I do not want to see happen. But the way Seth can help prolong that is to be the aggressive version of Seth. Now, this moment also tells me a lot about his teammates and what they have as a unit that I think can help them this season as well. I want to talk about that. Plus, there's been some speculation on Caleb Wilson's return. I'll say some words on that as well. All coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is now giving you that chance to turn those dreams into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. You just use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you're going to be automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole shebang is yours. If you're already looking at the board, maybe you're thinking about who can make a deep run, conference champions, whatever. This is the perfect time to lock it in. And I love like these threefold opportunities. Number one, when you make these picks, it makes every game more exciting. It adds an extra layer to it. Number two, your pick could cash and you could win. And number three, and perhaps most exciting, is a trip to New York, or excuse me, to the NBA Finals for two people. It's incredible stuff. We've got a great basketball game tonight in the Big East. The number 15 St. John's Red Storm are traveling to number 6 UConn. Rematch. St. John's won the first one in MSG. Crazy stuff there. Huskies are favored. UConn is by 4.5. It's a great line. Fun. Go get in on it. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered in your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. This episode is also brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season does not have to take over your life. And thank goodness, man, because it is so stressful. This year, the reason is because TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without that stress, without that guesswork. So instead of spending hours poring over forms, trying to figure out what on earth they mean, you can just meet with the local TurboTax expert in person or even connect with them online. And then they're going to handle everything for you, from your W-2s to your self-employment forms, and work to get you every deduction they possibly can. And then you just upload your documents, you go about your day, and you can check for real-time updates on the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver, gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it, not me that looks at it once every 12 months. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. All you got to do is file by February 28th. Y'all, that's just 3 days away. Get it done now. So take taxes off your plate and get back to life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listener watch of the day. Thanks for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network. That's crazy, right? Yeah. Thank you so much for making us all part of that. If you want to check out even more about the show, you can join the Everydayers Club. It's a great way to go deeper, get some perks, one-on-one conversations with me, and more. That link is in the show notes. Check it out right now. Back to this whole thing about Seth being aggressive. For Carolina to reach any ceiling that they hope to reach, it involves this version of Seth Trimble. Reckless abandon within the control that he's learned through his years, which I guess maybe belies the word reckless. Whatever, you hear my point. And I think a lot of it is that his aggressiveness unlocks this team. Because obviously, like they were saying on the broadcast on Monday night, that Pat Kelsey said, to stop Carolina, you got to stop Seth Trimble and cut the head off the snake. People around the country know they have to respect him on both ends of the floor. And so the goal for Carolina is to get Seth going, get paint touches, and then he can either finish, he can dump it off, he can kick out, like so many options, but you got to respect it. And then the other thing is I want to see Seth defensively doing what he did to Louisville on Monday night, man. It's so critically important. And I want to zoom back out a little further because there's something else that this whole, it's not really a confrontation, but let's just use the word confrontation, tells me of Seth's teammates and coaches coming to him to hold him accountable. That shows me just how much love and respect there is amongst these young men. Why? Seth is your senior leader and your captain. And yet, multiple teammates come to him and say, Seth, buddy, we need you. We've got to have everything you've got. You got to look to score. You got to look to finish. And man, when guys who are just part of the team are willing to speak up to the leader and say, buddy, we need more from you, that just shows the love and trust that this team has for one another. Why? Because I'll often say to my wife, like if she has a difficult conversation with me, I'll say, thank you for loving me enough to tell me something hard. Thank you for loving me enough to give me some constructive criticism so that I can grow and get better, because I can't see my blind spots. And it takes a lot of not just loving that person, but trusting them that they're not going to lash out at you, that they're going to take what you say and be grateful for it because they know that it's coming from a place of getting better. And so when I look at all this, I'm encouraged by it because A, it's going to make Seth be a better player on the floor, but B, it just shows the depth of relationship that these dudes share together. And that's great. And it's incredible. Now, one of the questions and one of the teammates, though, who is not out there, at least right now, is Caleb Wilson. Obviously, there's the question a long time of when will Caleb Wilson be back? Well, as of today, Wednesday, we are 2 weeks and a day past when the break actually happened, because the Miami game was February 10th. Today's the 25th. Yeah. So it was 2 weeks ago yesterday when he broke it. That imaging happened, what was it, Wednesday or Thursday of that week. So it's essentially 2 weeks since they discovered the fracture and have been working on getting it better. On the broadcast on Monday night, the guys were talking about, hey, Caleb's going to be back for Duke. Caleb wants to be back for Duke. Well, Caleb wants to be back for Duke, but here's the kicker. Caleb is not a medical professional. He's not, medical personnel. That is left up to some other people. And so I kind of read myself between the lines there. I saw some reporting from Andrew Jones from Tar Heel 247 on Tuesday, basically saying, hey, I heard that, that was passed on to me. That was reported on the broadcast. I checked in with the staff and they're basically telling me, don't take that as gospel, but rather, you all know this, Caleb, glass half full kind of guy, similar to myself. He's very hopeful. He's got wishes. And so it's more like, yes, Caleb's goal is to be back for Duke next Saturday, March 7th. But is that a reality? Will that actually happen? I think it's too early to put eggs in that basket yet. I'm very hopeful it will be. But again, you got to aim for winning the war and not just the battle in Durham. Yes, we all want to desperately beat Duke, but not at the expense of NCAA tournament success. And by that, I mean, what if Caleb plays and he's not really ready and the break gets worse and then he's just done? You don't want that. You would rather him wait another couple days, maybe come back for the ACC tournament, whatever that would be. So it's just a tough thing to wrestle with, tough thing to reckon with, but that's where it's at right now. So Caleb's hope, his wish, yes, is to be back for Duke. But let's wait till we hear something. Obviously, Coach Davis, the staff, they like to be tight-lipped with these things, and I get that, and nobody's forcing them to be outside of the injury reports just a little bit before game time. And so I would guess that we're not going to hear much until right when it's time, or maybe the starting lineup comes out and it's like, oh, goodness, Caleb's playing. Obviously, he wouldn't be on the injury report, so we would know that, but I wouldn't expect to hear anything. The imaging is supposed to happen sometime this week. I would imagine we might hear something from Coach Davis Friday at his press conference before the Virginia Tech game on Saturday. But man, you just think about if Seth is doing all that we just talked about, that his teammates are encouraging him to, that his coaches are saying, we need this from you. You mix that in with Caleb. You mix it in when Caleb's back and healthy. You mix it in with Jarin Stevenson's higher level of aggression and intensity, with everything that Jaydon has been doing while Caleb's been, with Luka stepping up in big ways. All of this, what you hope is that it can meld back together as Caleb works his way back in. And that's going to be the beautiful thing that we need to watch for. All right. Well, it is coming down to it. Carolina only has 3 regular season games left. How are things looking in NCAA tournament standing right now? How are things looking in ACC tournament standing? Do the Tar Heels still have a shot at a top 4 seed in the double bye? I'll answer all of that coming up in just a second.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. South Carolina rolled past Ole Miss 85-48 to clinch a share of the SEC regular season title and lock down the number 1 seed in the conference tournament. The Gamecocks extended their win streak over Ole Miss to 21 straight. UCLA dominated Wisconsin 80-60 to secure its first outright Big Ten regular season championship in program history. The Bruins improved to 27-1 overall and remain unbeaten in conference play. And number 12 TCU stormed back from a 13-point fourth quarter deficit to beat Iowa State 80-73. The Horned Frogs now sit alone atop the Big 12 standings and are 1 win away from clinching another regular season conference crown. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
This episode's also brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, your inbox is overflowing, and the one position that you still need to fill is just sitting there open and you don't have the time or margin to do it. Well, good news, because when the pressure's on and you need the right hire, that's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs, who helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate comes along and stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I'm going to talk to you, there are companies just like yours who have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to their worldwide data. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of Locked On Tar Heels are going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Tar Heels. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? That's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Let's get some postseason look ahead updates. Let's start furthest away and work backwards. NCAA tournament. Right now, basically all the bracketology sites either have the Tar Heels as a 5 or a 6 seed. At Bracket Matrix, which pulls them all together and spits out an average number, Carolina is the 3rd 6 seed. Funny enough, though, the teams that they're behind, the first 2 6 seeds are BYU, who got cooked, absolutely cooked on Tuesday evening at home by UCF. At one point, that game was 70-35. It was insane. And Louisville, who Carolina just beat. So you'd think as people are putting out more bracketology as this week goes on, Carolina might move up a little bit there, but fine, whatever. 5-6 seed range sounds good for now. You can continue to improve that, though. You just got to keep winning. I mean, it's not complicated. You want to keep improving, you got to keep winning. There is a world in which a 6 seed, though, is a little bit more desirable because you would play eventually a 3 seed. That'd be the second round. You'd play a 3 seed. And you know that I'd rather do that than ultimately be playing a 1 seed. And so whatever, you want to get as good a seed as you can get, though. You don't predict the bracket because it's almost always going to break down. But just keep winning, and you never know what you can get to. I think a 4 is still in play. 3 seed might be tough, but I think, if Carolina wins out, which that's a tall task, but they've already beaten Duke once, then a 4 seed is very much in play. But right now, we're thinking 5-6 range, assuming Carolina can continue to keep their head above water while Caleb Wilson is out. If not, I could see Carolina dropping to a 7. Maybe an 8, but not. I mean, they'd have to just suck from now until Selection Sunday. And then let's look at the ACC tournament, right? You were always looking for the double bye. That's the top 4 teams which get a double bye to Thursday in the quarterfinals. Single buys, which is not 5 through 8, it's actually 5 through 9 because the bracket is dumb, is single bye, and that you would start in the second round. You would be playing on Wednesday. Right now, the way the current standings are following Tuesday night's action, Duke leads the way at 14-1. They won at Notre Dame. One is not a strong enough word for what they did to Notre Dame. Second in the ACC standings, Virginia, which crushed NC State at home on Tuesday night. They're 13-2, 1 game back of Duke, and those teams play this weekend. That'll be fun. Number 3, Miami, who won at FSU on Tuesday night. They're 11-4, and they also hold the tiebreaker over NC State and Carolina, who were right behind them. I don't know. What did they do to Clemson? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Whatever. Fine. They're 11-4, so 2 games back of Virginia. And then 3 teams tied, 1 back of Miami for 4th. It's NC State, it's Carolina, and Clemson. And the reason I say NC State first is because they hold the tiebreaker over both the Tar Heels and the Tigers right now. So they would be the 4 seed if it started today. But all of those teams are at 10-5. Now, NC State lost to Miami, so they, don't have that, but they could definitely get up to that 3 seed. And then just behind that trio of Carolina, State, and Clemson is Louisville at 9-6. That's 1 game back. And SMU, who is 8-6. They're a half game back because they play at Cal tonight, Wednesday. So we'll see what happens there. So you hear all that. Again, Carolina tied for 4th right now, although they would not have the 4 seed. That would be NC State. ACC tournament scenarios. What can they get to? My realistic hope or expectation for these final 3 games is 2-1. 2-1 with the loss being at Duke, which I hate, and I hope that doesn't happen, but the more likely thing is that that's what's going to happen, meaning that it is incumbent upon Carolina to take care of business at home Saturday against Virginia Tech and next Tuesday at home against Clemson. Do that. Now, obviously, I would love to go 3-0. That would be great, but realistically, you probably drop one of these games, and it's probably the Duke game. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But as for the ACC tournament, the mathematically best possible seed the Tar Heels can get is 2. Mathematically, the worst possible seed they can get is 10. Now, that's just like if everything breaks a certain way, it could happen. Realistically, Carolina won't be 2nd. Realistically, they won't drop to 10th. They can't get to 1st. Duke only has 3 games left, and they're 4 games up on the Tar Heels. So 1st is off the table. 2nd is the best they can do, maybe 3rd. But my realistic best seed is 4. And I know that ain't painting the town and going crazy because Carolina's tied for 4th right now. But just with everyone's schedules and what Carolina has, I think that's the realistic, that's the goal is, could we get to a 4 seed and get the double bye? To get a 2 seed, Carolina would need Virginia to lose all 3 of their remaining games. At Duke, probably. But home to Wake, home to Virginia Tech, they're not doing that. And Carolina would have to go 3-0. They'd have to beat Duke. So getting a 2 is probably off the table. Getting a 3 seed, Miami would have to lose 2 of their final 3 because they hold the tiebreaker over Carolina, and they're up a couple games on them already. And again, that's with Carolina going 3-0, excuse me. So that's a thing. So getting a 4 seed is the more realistic. As I said, right now, Carolina's tied with NC State and Clemson. State holds the tiebreaker over both. Heels play Clemson next Tuesday at home. That is a critical matchup. So let's say Carolina goes 2-1 down the stretch, and those wins are Clemson and Virginia Tech, and the loss is Duke. At that point, to get the 4 seed, you would need NC State to lose twice because, again, they hold the tiebreaker. Carolina would have beaten Clemson, and so they're behind by a game. If Carolina goes 3-0, you've beat Clemson head-to-head, so they're already behind you. And now you just need State to lose once if you can go 3-0. If you can beat Virginia Tech, Clemson, and Duke, which is a tall task, I get it. But if you can, Carolina just needs State to lose once, and they would get that double bye. Now, there are some out there who would say, honestly, Isaac, I don't care about the double bye all that much. I would be more than content having a single bye and just getting an extra day of play. And similar, getting a 6 seed to where you wouldn't face Duke until the ACC tournament finals. So that's a thing as well. So we'll keep our eyes on that, both in terms of the ACC tournament and NCAA tournament. But again, bottom line, Carolina just needs to keep winning. That's it. One game at a time. It starts with Virginia Tech Saturday. And how do you do that? Well, let's go back to the beginning of the show, man. Aggressive Seth Trimble unlocks a world for these Tar Heels on both sides of the floor. Because it wasn't just the offense, man. You saw how locked in that defense was. It was incredible stuff. Thanks so much for being here with me today. I forgot to say off the top, I had been talking about how Coach Rob was going to be with me on this Wednesday show. Unfortunately, he woke up and was sick on Tuesday when we were going to record. And so, of course, I was like, Coach, just lay there. Don't do a thing, right? And so hopefully we will be back. We're making plans for him to be on the Friday show. And so hopefully he'll be feeling better and ready to go for that. But on tomorrow's show, we will have Andy Bagwell, the author of Duke Sucks. So that'll be really good stuff. If you haven't subscribed to the show on YouTube and on your favorite audio platform, do that right now so you don't miss a second. Get it on YouTube, get it on audio. It helps the show and gives you a couple different ways to interact with it. If you haven't looked at and checked out our brand new Everydayers Club, man, let me encourage you to go do so. Really neat thing. The link for it's in the show notes. Also in the show notes is the link for the Locked on Tar Heels Discord, where you got hundreds and hundreds of Tar Heels fans just like you who want to hang out and chat. All right, you guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.